Thank you. It's really great to be here. I'm sorry I can't speak any Chinese, so I won't be able to do that. Before I talk a little bit about my company and our position in the world and how that might be impactful to Taiwan, I want to tell you that I'm incredibly honored to share the stage with two of my most important friends here. So Terry Go and I have known each other for a little over 20 years. We began our relationship as very fierce competitors. I was running Flextronics, and Terry was running Foxconn, and Flextronics became the second largest electronics manufacturing company in the world, and Foxconn the first by a fair amount. Terry is gracious enough in our friendship to tell people that I'm one of the only business people who ever got in his way. And I say, that's very nice of you to say. Did you even feel that bump when you rolled over me? When I left Flextronics, we were $20 billion and Foxconn was $150 billion. So I don't really think I got in his way very much. But fortunately, during this period of time, we got to know each other as competitors frequently do, and we got to be friends. I visited his facilities, he visited my facilities, and so on. When I stepped down from running Flextronics in 2005, Terry and Foxconn graciously invested in a private equity fund I started and in a venture capital fund that I started, and we really became friends, which was terrific. When I started this company, Katera, I came to visit Terry at Foxconn and gave them my idea of the business, which was to take the lessons from the electronics manufacturing industry and apply them to the construction industry and so on. And he listened to this, and in that meeting committed to make a major investment in the company, which was before we had any revenue, and I've been thanking him ever since. Every time I come and visit, I say, without your taking that position, I'm not sure we would even be a company today, much less a large one. And as I show you what you're doing, you'll see that I think this is going to turn out to be a very good investment, so I'm very appreciative of that. I am equally honored to share the stage with my other really important friend here, Masa-san, who very much like Terry makes really big, important decisions. And the Vision Fund has been the big investor behind the company's growth. And I always tell him, like I tell Terry, without this investment, without these investments, we just wouldn't have the opportunities we have in the world. And so these two gentlemen, every time I see them, I thank them, and I would like to thank you again today. Here's the really cool thing about this. This is the world that I want to live in. So this is a world where we have a Taiwanese business executive, a Japanese business executive, and an American business executive who can compete, who can work together, who can invest together to create global companies and be friends at the same time. This is the world I want to live in. And this is not always the world that we get to live in. Okay, so let me talk about Taiwan. So this will come as a surprise to some of you, but I didn't just show up in Taiwan today to give a little talk. I first came to Taiwan in 1980, so about 40 years ago. And it was right out of business school. My first entrepreneurial effort was in computer terminals, which many of you are too young to even remember. We don't have them anymore. And I came to Taiwan through friends of mine, and we had the production done here by a company that's still in business. I had to check because it's so long ago, but a company called Sampo here in Taiwan, right? And so this is early 1980s. They were manufacturing products for me, and so I've had a long-standing relationship in this city and this country, and so I'm delighted to be here again and have the opportunity to talk to all of you. What I think matters for the conversation we're having, and I would like to talk about this just a little bit. I'm going to come back at the end and talk about it as well. What's happened in 40 years, in the 40 years that I've been watching this, and it's the same 40 years that Terry's been growing his businesses, technology has changed a lot. So in 1980, in the early 1980s, Technology mattered. They were all, this country has a tremendous background in technology companies, right? And we just heard many of the names between TSMC and Inventec and Quanta and Compal and ASUSTech and Delta and MediaTek. I mean, lots of technology companies here. But technology in 1980, in the 80s and the 90s, was an important business, but nothing like it is today. I mean, today things are completely different because in those days, the technology companies were relatively small, mattered, and today these are the biggest companies in the world, right? Between TSMC and Foxconn and Apple and Google and Facebook and Amazon, you guys know all these names, Alibaba. The technology companies have become the most important companies in the world. And as a consequence of that, there is a tremendous role for Taiwan to play in this ecosystem. I mean, it's obviously there's trade wars and stuff like that. I'm not able to talk about all these things, but I'm going to talk about our company and what's happening in technology, and then come back and talk about the technologies we're working with in our company that are perfectly the appropriate kinds of businesses for Taiwan for the future. Taiwan is in a perfect position to play in this world today. It's in a perfect position because of strong educational backgrounds, strong engineering, a very good work ethic, respect for intellectual property, which I think everybody knows is really an important thing happening here, and a fair amount of capital. And when you take all these things and put them together, this is really an opportunity in the technology space, which is the one I know, for Taiwan to step into a new level. And I'll come back and talk about that at the end. What's happened in the technology world since the 80s when I got started is that the technology world came from discrete products, whether it was inkjet printers or cell phones or computers or semiconductors, discrete products. And now technology has become a series of tools that are being used to disrupt all of the old industries. And you'll hear from Masa-san about this because many of the Vision Fund's investments are in companies like Katera, which are using technology tools, whether it's cloud, it's software, it's IoT, it's robotics, it's artificial intelligence, all these different things. And we're now taking these technology tools and applying them to all of these old line businesses. In my case, construction, but in other cases, the hotel business or the ride-sharing business or fintech or health services. It's a brand new world of technology being used to create massive new opportunities. And as I said, I think Taiwan has a terrific place to play in all of that. So I'll show you a little bit about what we're doing and the technology we're using, and come back and sort of summarize, if I might, on these kinds of things. So let me show you a video that will tell you a little bit about who we are. We won't pave the way for the future of building by repeating history. On the job site, on the factory floor, in the lab, we're examining everything. When it all comes together, it's a thing of beauty. Technology drives every single thing we do. We use the best tools available. And when we can't find what we need, we make it. But it's not just a tool we use or just a product we make. It's how we work. It's how we think, how we move forward, how we build. Technology isn't the end goal. It's how we get there. We're constantly creating, testing, improving, pushing each other to go further, looking at the problems everyone thought were unfixable. Every day is a new opportunity to ask ourselves, how could this be done better, faster, smarter? Always balancing what could change the world tomorrow with what will work in the real world today. So our best ideas aren't ideas at all. They're already here. Okay, so that'll give you an overview. We're a construction company. We use a lot of technologies. I'm going to show you some of the technologies and talk about them very briefly, but we are a construction company, and we're using technologies to do things better and faster and more effectively and make living better for everybody. What you see here are examples of the kinds of buildings we build. We don't build everything. I would point out in the lower left corner here, that's a hospital. It's a big hospital that we built in India. It's an area that we're particularly proud of and something we might have the opportunity to do here in Taiwan. We are building a number of cancer hospitals for the Tata Group in India, all around India, so we're pretty excited about that. But we build office buildings and we build residential, and you can see the different pictures. We have a complete materials research group, so we use different materials. So there's engineered wood, as you can see here, light gauge steel. Mass timber is a new activity in the world, and actually one of the ones that Terry was very interested in as we started to build this company. This is a new movement to use, what you see here is cross-laminated timber, what it's called, which is you lay it crosswise, it becomes very strong. And it can be used to replace concrete and steel in buildings. And there's an enormous amount of interest in this material around the world because it's better for CO2 and people like seeing wood surfaces and so on. So that's a big material activity for us. And then precast concrete, which is used in many parts of the world. I mean, in India, in the Middle East, where we have a joint venture with SoftBank, this is how it's used. In each of these cases, we're trying to be as environmentally friendly as possible. So in the use of steel, we use as much recycled steel as possible. Of course, we have the timber. In precast concrete, we use less water, less energy, less cement. So, but you need all these materials, and this is actually a research area for the company. We manufacture buildings. That's how we think about it. So we design them. We manufacture as many of the components as we can in factories, and we assemble them on site. That's the competitive advantage we have. And you can see these are big. These are beasts of factories. That middle one is the press that presses the cross-laminated timber. It's it's a beast of a factory, and you can see the precast concrete on the right and the left is the sort of assembly factories that we use in the United States. This is a piece of technology that's one of my personal favorites. When I started the business, there were a bunch of things that I wanted to do, but one of them was I wanted to design buildings by computer. I never really could understand why you go into architecture firms, and I hope I'm not offending any architects that might be in the crowd, but why you would go into an architecture firm and people would be designing two-bedroom apartments, drafting two-bedroom apartments, when a computer will go through every two-bedroom apartment that's ever been designed since the world began in about 5 seconds. What you're looking at on the screen are two buildings that are exactly the same building. I mean, when people talk about manufactured buildings, they think everything looks alike. These buildings are exactly the same inside. They're obviously not on the outside. And you can get on a computer now with us. This is a 24-unit garden apartment. You can get on a computer. You can just say, I want a flat roof. I want a slope roof. You can pick different balconies. You can pick different windows. You can pick all different kinds of things. But that's a computer-generated product that then is costed. There's a price for it. It's tied to our supply chain. We can deliver these things very quickly. So this is a really cool piece of technology. It's not easy, by the way, but this is big software. We're in the energy system business. We have a lot of activities in the company around energy. I'm going to show you a bunch of them. And this is one of the areas where we have some relationships with companies here in Taiwan. This is an energy server. So for those of you in the server business, that's exactly what this is. This takes energy from wherever it comes, from the grid, from solar, from battery backup, from any kind of power, and then sorts out where it needs to go and where it's to be used. And you can see it. Many of you, if you ever walked into an energy closet in a building, it doesn't look like this. So this is a project you can see 70% less space, 30% less cost, 40% less energy. And we're doing a lot of work on this in Taiwan. I'll come back to that at the end. We are using artificial intelligence on the energy side to get more efficient with our buildings and figure out ways to save more power, and the system gets smarter and smarter over time. As a part of this energy process, we wound up designing a new air conditioner. It's the craziest thing, but this is a business that is a very, very old business. This product replaces a product that was designed in 1935. You see these big white air conditioners underneath windows in hotels. They're loud, they're inefficient, they're always on or all off, and we thought that was a silly way to do things. And so we designed a new product here, and as you can see, it's also very much lower cost, very much more energy efficient. It's quiet, it's cloud-based, it has sensors. You can predict when it's going to go bad, all that kind of stuff. When we started the business, we didn't think we were going to be designing air conditioners, but we found there just wasn't very much technology in this industry, and so we brought some technology to bear, and there's a lot of demand for this product. Building intelligence, this is using a lot of sensors and using artificial intelligence to make predictions about what's going to happen. A lot of this is around energy and around living conditions, around humidity sensing, and so on. So this is an increasing part of our activity. Smart windows. This is another new technology that's happening. This is also for energy efficiency and for better living spaces. And these are windows that change from clear to opaque depending on what the temperature is outside and so on. Another really interesting technology that we're working with. So there's a bunch of technologies, and I'm going to come back to where this all plays into things that are happening here. So I don't know if there's anybody here from Delta, but Delta is working on the energy system that we showed the KES. Has been a very good partner for us, really, really strong in power supplies. This is a complicated product that's never been designed before. A very good kind of technology for this country. We're really excited about that relationship. This is the window manufacturing line that's here in Taiwan as well. Great technology, complicated technologies, and again, I'll come back to that a little bit. So kind of getting to the end point about all of this, I mean, we're a very exciting company growing very fast and with the great support of these two gentlemen, as I said in the beginning. But I want to come back here and talk about what we're all doing in this room. So I have some logos on the screen now, which are companies that have had long-standing relationships in Taiwan and globally. I mean, one of the things I said earlier is the cool thing here is doing global business, and so there's a long history here in Taiwan about this. Semiconductors, you have TSMC and UMC, and obviously semiconductors are really, really important in the world, becoming more important, not less important. And so that's something that's going on here and has already been talked about a little bit. There's the Internet of Things, which is software and it's sensors and it's figuring out how systems work together and how to get more intelligence out of systems. And this is all kinds of systems, from automobiles to buildings to, in our case, buildings, but to hospitals and all kinds of other things. Robotics. Robotics is a big thing. This is a company that we're invested in that has a robot that goes down the aisle of Walmart. This is a very, very complex product. There's all kinds of cameras. It's checking out to see what's in the aisles, to then feed back what things need to be restocked and what things are misplaced and what things are mispriced and all this kind of stuff. This is Walmart is the launch customer here. And so another kind of technology that's perfect for this island, for this country. So now if I might just take just a couple of quick minutes to kind of summarize how I see this impacting this place. When you look through these technologies that I just showed, each of them, power supplies, smart windows, robotics, these are not the high volume products that are going to get made in places like China and India, right? I mean, Taiwan's not going to be the place to build very high volume products, which take lots of people. I think everybody understands that. And we need a world where people do different things in different places because that's the right thing to do. When I think about how important technology is becoming, how important of a company Foxconn's become and TSMC's become, and how important these technologies are for the future. And then look at these technologies that I just showed. Here's robotics, the Internet of Things, semiconductors. We talked about these things. This country is perfectly positioned to do these kinds of new technologies. These are smart buildings, smart homes, smart cars, smart hotels, smart all these things. And these are technologies that it takes a lot of engineering. These are leading edge things. These are things that don't lend themselves to very high volume, lots of people, lowest possible cost. These are things that are driven by just what exists in Taiwan, which is high engineering content, high education content, high work ethic, respect for intellectual property, the things I said in the beginning of my talk, and capital. And what I would suggest to you as a group is that this is the perfect moment for Taiwan to step up in construction. Right now, as you know, American companies, I'm American, I've invested in a lot of companies around that. American companies cannot take Chinese money today. I personally hope this all gets fixed. Trade wars are not good for anybody, so I'm not going to say it. I hope that all gets fixed. But today, American companies cannot take Chinese money. But they not only can, but would be delighted to take money from Taiwanese companies, from the Taiwan pension funds, just like all these, you have GIC and CPP and CIC and all these giant sovereign funds in all these countries. Taiwan is in a perfect position to start making investments in companies like Katera. I'm the lucky one here because I already have investment from Taiwan and from Japan. I'm the lucky one. But there's many, many companies like me, and I'm telling you, they would all love to not only get capital from this country, but to create the kinds of partnerships we're already doing at Katera. I feel very fortunate to be invited to talk here and to be not embarrassed because I don't do anything here, because I do. I already work here, and we're going to do more work here. We're going to do more of this kind of work, the robotics, the power supplies, this kind of stuff. So politics is above my pay grade, so I don't have anything to say about that. What I will say is I can personally vouch for the fact that there's an opportunity here for this country to play a much larger role in the next generation of these global technology companies. And I really hope you all do that, and I really hope that I can continue to be a part of it. So, Shishi.